Welcome to episode 49 of Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. Return to Tomorrow.
In this week's episode, Kirk, Spock and another officer must decide whether to lend their bodies to an advanced alien species. Hoping it will lead to scientific and medical advancement, Kirk agrees. Things change, however, when one of the aliens turns out to be less willing than the others to return the body he has borrowed. Can Kirk and the crew find a way to put everyone's mind back in its proper place? Or will Spock end up with nowhere to go?
As you now leave your own seed on distant planets, so we left our seed behind us.
Good evening, Ian. Where's the most interesting place you've left your seed?
In a small allotment.
Okay.
Did you enjoy this week's episode?
Yeah, I did. Good one.
It was another one with very few additions to the regular cast. It makes you wonder if they've spent their budget this year.
Are you saying that the rest of the season's episodes will...
Well, they don't always air them in order that they make them, do they?
They don't, no?
I've not checked into where this one sits.
Okay.
Did you like the actors who are having to play two different versions or two different characters?
I think they would like it. I think Kirk and Spock would enjoy the acting within the acting.
Yeah, I'm not sure with the other one, Mulhall, that there was that much difference between the two characters.
Yeah, she seemed a bit wooden, to be honest.
Just a little. We'll get back to her.
She wasn't unpleasant.
No.
Perfectly fine.
She was, yeah, I think fine is the word.
Didn't have much to do or say, in fairness.
No, not much agency.
No. Just there to look a little bit pretty.
Just a little bit.
And admire Shatner's body.
As they all do.
Quite rightly so.
We hear a lot about that in this one.
We do.
I think he wrote part of the script.
He certainly edited it.
Yeah.
Sitting with his pencil out.
Stop. I think what you should say is, excellent body.
The best you have ever seen.
Just like your own, Mr. Advanced Species.
Alright.
Do you want to get started then?
Yeah, let's crack on. Up at the bridge, Sulu makes a return.
Yeah, back from making that movie.
Yep, with John Wayne.
Yeah.
He picks up a strong signal from a star system, although Uhura claims it is not a signal, doesn't even exist.
Yeah, he says it's a reading that's growing stronger. She says it's not a signal, and Spock says someone is trying to attract their attention.
Yeah, I think Uhura, however, admits that something is interfering with her communications.
Indeed. Kirk says that this person has succeeded in getting their attention and asks what's causing it, and we've seen this response from Spock before, quite recently. He doesn't know. But in this occasion, he's prepared to defend his position and says that not even a Vulcan can know things that are unknowable.
What they do know is that it is a distress signal.
Or at least it's triggered their distress alert system.
Yeah, the relay, that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's also a mention here that they've travelled hundreds of light years beyond where any other Earth ship has ever travelled. You were asking a couple of weeks ago about the whole where no one has gone before line, so this is them doing that.
Why would they assume that it's from Earth?
Assume that what's from Earth?
Well, they're saying that this signal is coming from something that no Earth ship has...
Yeah, no, they're beyond where any other ship from Earth has gone, so that's why they don't have any data, they don't know what they're encountering.
Okay.
It's not that the signal's from Earth.
At this, Sulu gets visual of a planet ahead, and Spock confirms it to be a Class M, but with two major differences to Earth.
Well, yeah, I found this quite confusing, because Class M means it's got a breathable atmosphere, but he says it doesn't. So maybe it used to be Class M.
Well, that's what I've noted here. He says it's much older, and many years ago its atmosphere was ripped away, so it's therefore by definition not a Class M planet.
No, I mean, that's like saying Mars is Class M.
Yeah, if it had previously had an atmosphere.
Yeah, before its atmosphere escaped out into space. Or the other possibility is that the Class M, or the classification of the planet as Class M, was done from 100 light years away, or more, 500,000 light years away, so that the data they had was based on old information, because obviously light takes that amount of time to travel.
Yeah, possibly.
So if they were getting readings saying, yes, this is a Class M planet, but they were taken from over 500,000 light years away, then it would have been at that time.
And at this, they are interrupted by a deep, booming voice.
Are your hailing frequencies open?
No, sir.
I am Sargon, It is the energy of my thoughts which has touched your instruments and directed you here. Now, at this closer distance, I can speak to you at last.
Who are you, Sargon?
Please assume a standard orbit about our planet, Captain.
Is that a request or demand?
The choice is yours. I read what is in your mind. Words are unnecessary.
The planet is dead. There's no possibility of life there, as we understand life.
And I am as dead as my planet. Does that frighten you, James Kirk? Or if it does, if you let what is left of me perish, then all of you, my children, all of mankind must perish too.
The first thing I thought was that washing machines live longer with Sargon. I wonder if that's a regional reference.
I think it is, Ian, yeah.
Someone will get it. I thought a lot of the things that Sargon said were a little bit disjointed. It reminded me of when Apollo spoke to them with his giant green hand.
Explain.
So he talks about, or Kirk asks whether he's being requested or told to assume orbit, and then he starts talking about reading his mind and words being unnecessary. It's not a response to what he was asked.
No.
It's just, he just starts talking about, well, I can read your mind to stop you to say anything, but then they just keep talking. Why did you even mention that?
Yeah, it's almost like a pre-recorded message.
Yeah, he's not listening to what he's being told, yeah.
After that, we have the credits and a Captain's Log 4768.3.
Yep, they've entered orbit, and the planet is devoid of all life, and has been for at least 500,000 years, but they've got this voice coming, pure thought, saying that he has survived here for those thousands of centuries.
And we go live to the conclusion as Kirk states that he will take a risk and resume contact with the planet or the voice.
Yeah, either way. He asks Uhura how long it's going to take to send this message to Starfleet or for them to receive it, and she says 3 weeks.
Before Spock calls him over, as a sensor has detected energy deep in the planet.
Sargon gets in touch to say that Spock is probing him, and he can feel it.
I'm sure. Just like Chapel.
Well, we get more advice from Sargon. He says he's set up their transporters for them so that they can join him in his deep place.
Yeah, and begs them to come and rescue them from oblivion. He's a bit needy.
He is quite needy. Spock says that the coordinates provided are at least 100 miles deep in the planet.
And understanding this worry, Sargon promises he will make it possible for the transporter to beam them down that far. And Spock then detects a chamber that apparently will be able to support life.
It will. Kirk gets Uhura to have McCoy meet him at the transporter room and says to Spock he can't come because the two of them shouldn't be off the ship at the same time. That's not been the rule before.
It's not, and I don't think Spock's too happy with this. He thinks it's an excellent chance to investigate a very peculiar scientific phenomenon.
And somebody else who's not happy about it appears to be Sargon, who instead of using the communication that he's already established by speaking to Kirk, turns off the power.
This is like when people believe in ghosts and things like that. It's like, that's not how it's far too vague. It's like, oh, that's definitely a message from him.
Yeah, he's already established he can speak. Why does he not just say, no, you need to bring Spock?
Yeah.
I need him.
Yep.
I like his face.
Or his ears.
But Kirk somehow intuits that the power going off is Sargon's way of saying, bring Spock. So
it would
power
have been,
comes back on.
It would have been funny if Scotty had just popped in at that second and said, sorry guys, I was messing about down there, I blew a fuse for a second, it's back on now.
Yeah.
It's like, Kirk's, this is obviously a message from...
Yes. Anyhow, Spock agrees to come along and Sulu is left in charge.
Down in the transport room, McCoy is upset that he has not been briefed, but Kirk tells him that he knows as much as they do, and Scotty, he's not happy either.
Yeah, no, he doesn't like the fact that he's not in control of the transporters and it's being done remotely.
Yeah, and he worries McCoy by claiming that they could obviously materialise directly inside this rock.
Yeah, we know McCoy gets agitated around transporters at the best of times.
Yeah.
A new person shows up. It's Dr. Anne Mulhall.
Yeah, she does. But before that, Spock dismisses this claim by McCoy and tells him that the coordinates relate to the chamber. And Kirk makes the point that he thinks the entity could destroy them right there and then if he wanted to.
He's not going to trick them into beaming into rock, yeah.
So tell me about this female, this red shirt.
Yes, Dr. Anne Mulhall, the Lieutenant Commander of Astrobiology, and she's received orders to report, but Kirk did not give those orders.
Well, that's this again. Kirk always seems not to know who. I know there's 400 on there, but they're up there for a long time. 400 is not that many people. He's always seemed surprised to, who are you? Oh, Anne Mulhall, I've never seen you before.
You might know her name from a list, but maybe he's not seen her face.
I mean, they have been up there for what, 5 years?
No, this is only the second year.
Oh, okay, still 2 years in a ship.
I think they rotate. I don't think it's just 400 people. I think whenever they go to a starbase, they lose 100 and get 100 new ones.
Right. Well, he's always losing.
Yeah, and people die and get replaced and things like that as well.
Get murdered through poor health and safety and decision making.
Yeah. Before she can answer Kirk's query anyway, Spock suggests that Sargon has made this instruction. Yeah.
And we should point out when she's introduced, there's a score which suggests a chemistry between obviously Kirk and this new female.
Yeah. I think this is the last episode of the season to have original music. It's all reruns from now on.
Okay. Now, did you mention there that she was told to report there, but...
Yeah, it wasn't Kirk, and Spock says probably was Sargon. Anyway, McCoy's not interested in this conversation. He wants to talk more about beaming into rock.
Yeah, he's not delighted that they've got to go through about 112 miles off the stuff.
112.37.
Yeah, and asks if it's a joke, but Kirk smiles, says no, and then orders him to get ready. But Sargon interrupts again and tells him he'll operate the controls.
Yeah, at this, Kirk gives McCoy the option to stay behind, but he is far too intrigued and joins them on the transporter pad, along with 2 security guards.
However, Sargon decides only to bring 4 of them.
Yes, he leaves the red shirts behind, brings down Mulhall, Spock, Kirk and McCoy.
They're probably quite relieved.
The red shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get a break now.
So in this chamber on the planet, they are still able to communicate with the Enterprise.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise, given the rock in between them. That shouldn't be possible.
Yeah, it surprises Kirk, who also gets told by Scotty via this communication that the guards that were left behind are okay, and he tells him to maintain an alert.
He does. Scotty's not happy. I think he's a bit agitated now that things are not as expected. So
yeah, not within his control.
Not within his control, and also the 6 people weren't beamed down as planned, so already he's on alert.
Yeah, Mulhall confirms that the atmosphere is fairly normal, and Spock informs them that the vault was constructed about 500,000 years ago at the time that the surface was destroyed. Very specific, that information.
Well, it's in the ballpark. I mean, when you're talking about 500,000 years, is he within 1 year, within 10 years? Mm-hmm. If they anticipated the loss of atmosphere, maybe they had time to construct the chamber.
Sure. He tells Kirk the walls are made from an unknown substance which is stronger than anything he is aware of.
It's just a lot of words to say. Yeah, the walls are hard.
Yeah. I know Kirk must be, I don't care.
Yeah, I didn't ask what the walls are made of.
Yeah. I assume we're 100 odd miles down here. I'm assuming they're quite strong. Why do you tell me this? I'm not trying to break through.
Just tell me if there's a problem.
Yeah. Can we breathe? Yeah, that's fine.
McCoy comments that the air seems fresh and wonders if it's being circulated.
A door then slides open, and they look on with curiosity and apprehension at a cavern containing a blinking globe on a stand that contains Sargon himself.
Or at least his essence. Spock is given permission by Sargon to scan him with his tricorder, and is told that the essence of Sargon's mind is within the globe. Spock says it's pure energy, matter without form, but Kirk says, don't be daft, that's impossible.
He then responds to McCoy and confirms that he did used to have a body, much like theirs, his children, but with a far greater mind.
Yeah, Kirk picks up on this children reference, and we get the explanation we heard at the top of the show about seed.
Mulhall then tells him that studies show that life on Earth evolved independently, but Spock concedes something.
Yeah, he says that the story might be true for Vulcan. The reason this line is in Mulhall's line about life beginning independently is that the writer's quite religious and didn't want to have anything in the story that could go against the Bible.
ID, they call it these days.
And we'll come back to that point, yeah.
Oh, wait, alright, okay. That's disappointing.
Yeah. So anyway.
For a show that's based, it's...
Yeah, in the future in a godless
science,
society, yeah. Kirk gives it the old, maybe you weren't so smart given you've wiped yourselves out routine.
We've heard that before.
Yeah. But His example of Earth surviving its nuclear age is poo-pooed by Sargon, who says, yes, we also survived our nuclear age, but then worse things happened after that.
Kirk admits that he doesn't understand, and so Sargon explains their minds became so powerful, so great, that they started to consider themselves gods. I think we all know some people that have that sort of complex.
Indeed. Kirk asks Sargon what help they need and is immediately possessed.
Yeah, he's sent into a sort of trance which allows Sargon to speak through his body.
Yes, Sargon, using Kirk's body, explains that this is just a demo. Don't worry. McCoy's pulled his phaser out at this point and Spock's warning him, don't shoot Kirk.
I thought Spock was quite good here because he says to McCoy, well, what's your plan here? You've pulled your phaser out, it's still his body.
Yeah, if you shoot it, it'll be him that dies.
So McCoy has to put it down. Sargon seems then to take over more of the body and is enjoying the feeling of air in the lungs and the heart pumping after 500,000 years, and we've got some top Shatnering at this point.
Yeah, he goes full Shatner.
Yeah.
We then get this line we kind of hinted at earlier on where he compliments McCoy for keeping Kirk's body in such fine condition. It's a little bit weird. Anyway, Spock asks Sargon his ultimate intentions, and Sargon explains that Kirk is unharmed.
Yeah, although he doesn't have enough energy to speak from where he is like Sargon.
Yeah, he's in the globe.
But McCoy and Mulhall, they're obviously worried, as his readings, Kirk's that is, are off the scale and insist that he will die if Sargon doesn't vacate shortly. Spock again asks what he wants, and Sargon tells him that there are another 2 globes in the next room and that they hold the energy of the other 2 that survived.
Yes, and they need Spock's body and they need Mulhall's body, not McCoy's.
No. McCoy's, it's in that sort of situation, isn't it, where you're happy and disappointed, you're happy and offended at the same time.
Yes.
So we go to the next room, the globe room. They enter and find numerous globes and boxes on the walls, and 2 of them flicker with the energy of Henoch and Thalassa, who is his wife.
Not Henoch's wife.
No.
Sargon's wife.
Yes.
Spock asks, and it is confirmed that only the best minds were chosen to survive. Henoch representing the alternative viewpoint in the final dispute, which means Henoch's a baddie. Or they're baddies, we don't know yet.
Apparently they knew that the seed they planted would result in people eventually coming to their planet. That's a bit of a long shot.
Yeah, and they felt the need to perpetuate both viewpoints, given the realisation of their ultimate mistake. Surely that's the wrong conclusion. The ultimate mistake is that they've had this big fight. Just maintain one viewpoint.
Yeah.
The other one wants to fight you.
Sorted.
Anyway, their essence is preserved.
Spock asks why he was stored in a different room, that's Sargon, from the others, and is told that it is his job to probe and search the heavens with his mind.
Yes.
That's some job, that, isn't it? Imagine how would you post a job like that on Indeed or whatever?
On LinkedIn.
Zip Recruiter.
I bet you put it on LinkedIn, you'd get applications.
You would do, yeah.
You have to go through them all. Not qualified.
Do you have any experience in
probing the heavens? Sargon refutes Mulhall's suggestion that their bodies will be stolen and says they're just borrowing.
Yeah, for a short time. But McCoy states that they will be destroyed and notes Kirk's heartbeat is at 262, as well as all the other vitals which are off the scale. And we can see the sweat pouring from Kirk at this point.
We can. Sargon says he will return the body in the nick of time. Now,
Spock rightly queries why they want the bodies. Sargon tells him, well, okay, why? Explain why Sargon wants them just now.
So that they can build humanoid robots and inhabit those instead.
Like Andrea?
Yeah, but not as good.
No, they aren't, are they?
No.
Mulhall points out that, well, listen, we've got engineers. We could build them for you. But he tells them that they don't have the skills. No, you couldn't. You just build.
It has to be us.
Yeah. At this, he nearly faints. And they bring him back to his globe and transfer him back in. So we switch out.
Yes, and we get Kirk doing a bit of Shatnering.
We do, yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
Good to watch. He seems physically okay.
Yeah, he's a little bit doolally though.
Yes, he remembers what happened and feels that he now knows Sargon. He knows what he wants and he doesn't fear him. That, quite the assumption.
Yeah, not to mention that Sargon's told them what he wants and who he is.
Yeah, what the plan is.
So what's the benefit? Anyhow, McCoy and Mulhall share our scepticism.
Yeah, they think it's nonsense. And neither Kirk or Spock argue the challenge, but Kirk does communicate with Sargon, who accepts that all involved must agree to the plan, and he gives them permission to return to the Enterprise to chat it through.
He does, and McCoy asks what will happen if they decide they don't want to proceed.
No, he seems quite reasonable and claims that in that case they can leave freely. This is a little bit like a James Bond baddie.
Yeah, well, he's taking a completely different tone from earlier when he said it would mean the death of all mankind. They didn't help him. And now it's like, oh no, yeah, you can go. Yeah,
definitely. Anyone who doesn't want to be here can leave right now, unharmed. Just use that door over there, then you walk through and you drop through into a piranha pool.
That's it, we'll take all your bodies.
So, up in the briefing room, Scotty can't quite get his head around what they are planning, and McCoy thinks the body swap sounds indecent.
Yeah, Scotty asks McCoy to confirm that the others are all right in the head, and he says he cannot do that.
Mulhall, she disagrees at this point. She's quite happy. I think she's now on board.
Yeah, she's coming around, but Scotty is told by Kirk that his approval is required because he's the one who'll be working with them as part of the engineering team.
McCoy is still not convinced. He points out that they could destroy them very easily, and they want the bodies of the two most senior figures on board.
They do, but Spock explains that these bodies will be vacated once the artificial ones are prepared, at which point the aliens can remain on board as androids and travel with the Enterprise.
Also, like Kirk, his response to this issue that McCoy has, he says, yeah, well, they simply selected the most compatible, best bodies.
Yeah. Scotty is also still sceptical, but Spock backs up Kirk's claims that there will be great advances and developments made available to them, including ships the size of the Enterprise but with an engine the size of a walnut.
That's what everyone strives for, walnut engines.
Walnut-sized engines. That's what we're going for.
However, Kirk agrees that it must be a unanimous decision, and McCoy says that he has one question.
Why?
He doesn't want a list of possibilities, but a reason to override the very real potential danger. So Kirk then takes a moment before addressing this legitimate concern and putting over his own rousing, impassioned argument.
They used to say if man could fly, he'd have wings. But he did fly. He discovered he had to. Do you wish that the first Apollo mission hadn't reached the moon, or that we hadn't gone on to Mars and then to the nearest star? That's like saying you wish that you still operated with scalpels and sewed your patients up with catgut, like your great-great-great-great-grandfather used to. I'm in command. I could order this. But I'm not. Because Dr. McCoy is right in pointing out the enormous danger potential in any contact with life and intelligence as fantastically advanced as this. But I must point out that the possibilities, the potential for knowledge and advancement is equally great. Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her. You may dissent without prejudice. Do I hear a negative vote? Engineer, stand by to beam aboard 3 receptacles.
It would have been funny after that speech if he'd asked the question and a few of them had said, yeah, I'm still not up for it.
Yeah.
You've not convinced me.
Yeah, I mean, before he started to speak, Scotty was already convinced by the walnut engines.
Yeah.
But I felt that entire speech was a bit out of character for Kirk. Like, the voice was wrong. It seemed like the writer's voice rather than Kirk's voice.
Yeah, it might have been. I did enjoy it. I did like it, and I did like Shatner's performance there. But yeah, it didn't seem 100% genuine, authentic. The biggest issue, I think I've recognised this a few times. He talked about his great, whatever it was, using scalpels. There's no reason for him to reference the 60s, 1960s.
Yeah, he could have had any technology prior to that or after that.
I mean, if we were going back a few generations to talk about technology, you might go back to your grandfather or even your great-grandfather.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go back 300 or 400 years. It's almost as if they're going back to the time when the programme was
being made. Conveniently.
Yeah.
Although, they don't always do that in this episode. And I'll speak about that a little bit later on. I also thought the reason it was out of character for Kirk is that he's a collaborative leader. In every other episode we see him build a consensus, but here he's trying to sort of do the sort of Braveheart thing, like rally them on emotion rather than on reason.
Yeah, sure, I'm not sure I agree that he's generally collaborative. I think I've seen him many times make decisions that the rest of them aren't on board with, and he says, no, I'm, when he goes off in his own
he does that secretly. He doesn't get them all in a room and say, we must hunt down this great killer of
He just does it.
He just does it and then justifies it later on.
Okay.
Anyway.
We find ourselves in sick bay. Kirk, Spock and Mulhall are lying on beds, each with a globe beside them in preparation for the transfer, as McCoy warns Chapel of the need to be vigilant.
Constant vigilance. Yeah, there's going to be an increased metabolic rate, but they are ready. So Kirk tells Sargon and the transfers are initiated.
And after a bit of convulsing, Sargon announces through Kirk that the transfer is now complete.
Yes, Henoch Spock wakes up and immediately creeps on Chapel.
Yeah, he takes an immediate liking to her.
Calls her a lovely female. What a wonderful sight to see.
Yeah, I've got some issues with that and between Sargon and Thalassa. It's almost like it's very base.
They're all very horny.
Yeah. At this point, they're meant to be so advanced and
500,000 years
as
thought.
Come
and now
on.
it's like, we've got bodies. Let's do things with them.
Yeah.
Yes, and Thalassa Mulhall is very pleased by the body that Sargon has acquired.
Yeah.
It looks just like his old one.
Yeah.
And he says kiss, and so she kisses him.
Yeah, she's obviously not unhappy with this form. It'd be quite funny if Kirk hadn't transferred, he just pretended to.
Yeah. Henoch Spock reckons he's got the best one and wonders why the Vulcans haven't conquered humans yet.
Yeah, he's got a bit of the lad about him, hasn't he? Henoch?
Yeah, well, this is the bad guy. He's from the other side of the argument, whatever it was.
But McCoy reminds him that the Vulcans are a peaceful race before Mulhall takes a turn quickly, followed by Kirk.
I quite like the fact that Henoch's response to McCoy is, yeah, me too. I also like peace. Yes, he's happy as well that his body can hold up a bit better than the other two who are by now faint.
Yeah, I think he says he's got a higher metabolism, and McCoy tells Sargon that it won't work, he has to get out. But Sargon mentions metabolic reduction injection, and although McCoy doesn't know what it is that he's talking about, apparently Henoch does.
Yes, he gets Chapel recruited to assist him and they leave.
And when gone, McCoy tells Kirk that if the injection doesn't work, they can't risk it again.
So now down in the lab, Henoch Spock is explaining what the formula will do and how Chapel should administer it, I think 10 cc's an hour. He starts giving her hypos for each person, says, mark this one for Thalassa, this one for me, and this one that looks very different for Sargon. But he doesn't say for Sargon, does he? He says for Captain Kirk.
Yeah. Yeah, things take a sinister turn here at this point.
They do. She recognises that there's an issue with this formula, and he says, that's okay. It's only you and me that know about this.
And then he seems to wipe her memory.
Yeah, so is he doing a Vulcan thing, or is he doing a alien thing of his own?
I'm not sure. I've not seen the Vulcans do this before.
No, but the hand gesture was quite Vulcan-y, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just because it was Spock's body doing it, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it makes her susceptible to his commands.
She's suggestible and also forgetful.
We then have a doc log.
No, before that he lays out his evil plan.
What's that?
He says that Sargon would not let him keep Spock's body, so he has to kill him. And the way to do that is to kill Kirk while Sargon is in the body.
Yeah, that's fair enough, to be honest. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, cool.
Doc log 4769.1. The construction of the android is underway, and he has no reason for concern, but finds himself with a sense of dread.
That's just his natural state.
Yeah, I think so. We're down in engineering.
Yes, Sargon, Kirk and Thalassa Mulhall are working and touch hands.
Yeah, they're being romantic when Henoch enters and laughs as he reminds them that they will soon have their own bodies, although the android's hands will lack feeling. That's not ideal.
Every other android that we've seen constructed was able to feel things.
Yeah.
So why are they making such bad androids if they're so advanced?
They're not that advanced.
Yeah, clearly not.
Sargon claims that they will still have their minds and they will be able to teach others not to make the mistakes they did. He then takes another little turn, but says that the next injection will rejuvenate him.
Down in sickbay, McCoy and Chapel are discussing the metabolic readings, which seem fine, but she has something on her mind.
Yeah, she's quite hesitant.
It won't quite come out. He asks her if it's about the patients, and she says, yes, of course, it's that the formula is perfect. Not at all suspicious.
No. Back to engineering, Scotty enters with some parts for Thalassa and makes it clear that he doesn't think her creations are going to work. But she smirks at this.
Yeah, he makes an alternative suggestion, and she says they are highly inefficient. Spock, or Henoch Spock, says that the plan's fine and you're wasting my time, go away.
Yep, so Scotty leaves in a huff, and at this, Henoch broaches the subject of Sargon with Thalassa.
1,000-year prison, Thalassa. And when it wears out, we'll build another one. And we'll lock ourselves into it for another 1,000 years. And then another. And another. Sargon has closed his mind to a better way. With these bodies.
They're not ours, Henoch.
You awoke in this body, Thalassa. You saw how good it was to breathe again. To have eyes. And to see again. To feel. To live and feel again, Thalassa. Just think how much we can do for mankind. Are these bodies too much to ask for in return? Would you prefer this?
No. I'm beginning to hate it.
She runs out and Henoch Spock smirks.
Yeah.
In the briefing room...
Deck 6? How many decks are there? I've asked you this before.
I can't remember.
Deck
I'm
6?
sure I found out for you before.
Yeah. Sounds a lot, mind you.
Yeah. Sargon Kirk is visibly struggling now and calls McCoy and tells him his location as Thalassa Mulhall enters the room.
She's obviously worried, but he claims that it is just fatigue, and then says that he has checked Henoch's formula to make sure there were no errors, and that it is correct. Why would he check?
Just because he's suspicious, because he's not getting better. He praises Kirk's excellent body, once again, before she suggests that their bodies will eventually adapt.
Yeah, but he says that it could take years, and she tries to persuade him to consider remaining in the human bodies by claiming android versions of themselves will never have the intimate connection that they have at this moment.
And she kisses him to prove this, and he collapses.
Not the best.
Not the
result.
response you're looking for, is it, really?
But fortunately, McCoy and Chapel enter at this point and give him the injection. But it's too late.
He's dead.
Well, that's the end of that.
Yep, cheerio, Sargon. Medical log. He's not sure whether it's one death or two. He knows that Sargon couldn't get back to his receptacle and is dead, but the body's still alive and Kirk's essence is still in the globe, so can he be put back together?
But contrary to this claim, we see that Kirk's vital signs are still working.
That's not contrary to what I just said.
Yeah, because you see the body's dead.
I said the body's alive. Oh, did I say it's dead?
Yeah.
It's alive, yes. Yes, so the Sargon's dead, but the body's alive and Kirk's essence still exists, so maybe they can be...
How can I don't understand that? The body's dead. He's collapsed because he's not got the injections. It's Kirk's body that's dead.
Yeah, but now it's not.
That doesn't make sense. He had died, but Kirk's essence was in the globe.
Yeah, so McCoy's fixed the body.
You can't fix the body, he died.
No, but once Sargon left it, obviously the heart maybe was able to...
No, but as you died, the human body...
Well, maybe it's not dead. Maybe it was just almost dead and Sargon was out and that allowed the body to recuperate. I don't know. It's science fiction. Down in the laboratory, Thalassa Mulhall and Henoch Spock are discussing this android, and She asks why he's bothering when they both know they're not going to get rid of the human bodies that they're in. He's taunting her, though, at this point, I think.
Yeah, well, I don't think she likes his answer. Apparently it's for her.
Yeah, well, she's already kind of indicated that she's going to go along with his plan of keeping these bodies, but I think he's maybe looking for her to commit to it. So he taunts her by saying he's going to make this body female for her and she'll enjoy it. And
also want to know, why is the android wearing trousers?
It'd be indecent otherwise.
Well, what are you creating here? It's an android.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it should be like a mannequin. There should be nothing there.
Nope, it's a sex robot.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
But it doesn't feel, so that would be unsatisfying for all concerned.
Doesn't feel with the hands.
It's because all the nerves have been concentrated.
One vital area.
To satisfy their initial urges. He tells her that Sargon would have insisted she become the android, and she says no, she cannot live as a machine.
Back in sickbay, she then approaches McCoy and asks if he would like to save Kirk, as they have powers that Sargon had forbidden them to use, and she intends keeping the body of Mulhall.
Well, that's the exchange she offers. I'll save Kirk if you let me keep this body and pretend that I didn't.
And McCoy realises that Henoch intends to do the same, and she says that he has selfish reasons, unlike yours.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Although she does say she only wants to exist in peace, but still selfish.
Yeah, quite selfish. McCoy, in any event, refuses to make the trade, says that neither he nor Kirk can trade away somebody else's body.
But she's not interested in his approval now, only his silence, and in return she will save Kirk's life. He doesn't answer, because obviously he's pondering this conundrum, this dilemma.
Yeah, I don't think he's seriously considering it, though.
Really, you don't think he would give up Mulhall for Kirk?
No, and we can tell that from his response when he says he won't peddle flesh, which angers Mulhall, or Thalassa. She calls him a savage medicine man, and as he goes to walk away, she zaps him with a cloud of pain.
She does, yeah. However, she sees what she is doing, stops and apologises, claiming that Sargon was right and that the temptations within a living body are too great.
So this resuscitates Sargon.
It does, yeah.
Comes back from the dead to commend her on her response.
Yes, and tells her that even though she thought he was killed, he was dead, he has powers that even she wasn't aware of.
Even Henoch wasn't aware of. Mm-hmm. He's possessed the Enterprise itself, in much the same way he was intending to possess the android.
Yeah. At this point, Chapel walks in and stands beside Thalassa as they tell McCoy to leave, as they have work to do on implementing Sargon's plan. So outside, what happens?
Well, he goes out, the door shuts behind him, and he starts banging at this sort of Fred Flintstone style.
And I think the ship's jolted at this point as well.
Very slightly. He tries to communicate, I think, with the bridge, but before he can get anywhere, Chapel comes back out.
Yes, she walks past him, and McCoy runs back through, where he finds Kirk standing, and whilst looking a bit disorientated, claims to be okay.
Yeah, Mulhall also appears to be restored to her own body, but the 3 spheres are blackened and destroyed, which distresses McCoy greatly.
Why?
Because Spock was in one of them.
Yeah, well.
Kirk says, yeah, well, these things happen.
Yeah, they had no choice, and tells him to prepare a lethal injection to now kill Spock's body and the thing inside it.
Up on the bridge, Uhura is screaming in terror, being a poor woman.
Yeah, it was a very sharp cut we had there. I quite liked the edit.
Yeah, it was good.
And it's quite a blood-curdling scream. It's like something from a horror movie, a scream queen, you might say.
She faints across her console with terror again, and Chapel stands sort of stock still next to the captain's chair.
Yeah, but Spock is standing, Henoch is standing over her at this point.
Yes. Kirk, Mulhall and McCoy enter as Henoch Spock threatens all of them.
Well, is this not the point where they're disabled with pain?
He's just about to give them a little bit of pain.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, just to give them a taste.
Show them who's boss.
And then, as Kirk goes to poison him, he gets Chapel to take the hypo away and inject it to Kirk instead.
But that doesn't happen, does it?
No, she injects it to Spock's body, and this shocks him and surprises him because I think he thought he was aware of what everybody was thinking.
But after the initial shock, he laughs and tells them that he will simply transfer to another body.
Yes, unfortunately, Sargon is preventing him from doing so, and he laments the situation.
Yeah, Sargon swiftly kills him.
Yes. Once he's dead, Kirk kneels by Spock's body and says a lamentation for his dead friend.
Yeah, there was no other option apparently. But, fortunately, Sargon has other ideas and states that he could not allow him to sacrifice something so close to him, and we see that Chapel and Spock both return to normal.
You're alive. There was enough poison in that hypo to kill 10 Vulcans.
No, Doctor. I allowed you to believe that to be true, so that Hennock would read your thoughts and believe it also.
Sargon.
It seems, Doctor, the injection was only enough to cause unconsciousness.
But Hennock believed and fled the body. He is destroyed.
But your vessel was destroyed too. Where was your consciousness kept?
The place Hennock would least suspect, Captain.
That is why I was summoned into sick bay, Doctor. Mr. Spock's consciousness was placed in me. We shared consciousness together.
We now know we cannot permit ourselves to exist in your world, my children. Thalesa and I must now also depart into oblivion.
Is there any way we can help you, Sargon?
Yes, my son. You can allow Thalesa and me to share your bodies again. A last moment together.
So do we think that's the first time that Spock has been inside Chapel?
No. We've seen various incidents where he's had the opportunity and intent.
Yeah, but did he take it?
I think there was at least one occasion he did.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
Anyway, we heard at the end of the clip that they both agree to this transfer which takes place, and as they embrace, she admits oblivion together doesn't frighten her as long as he promises they will be with each other.
Yes, and before the kiss that they begin ends, they leave, making for quite an awkward moment for Kirk.
I quite like that. It's a bit embarrassing. They're left. It's like the equivalent of someone saying something, the music being cut.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking at you.
And Kirk says he's sure that Sargon appreciated Dr. Mulhall's cooperation, and she says she was happy to cooperate, obviously enjoying her moment with the captain.
Yeah, we get the feeling that they were both quite happy with the situation.
Yeah, but also embarrassed.
But maybe they took it to their own quarters later on. Finished it off.
Who knows? Chapel says it was a beautiful moment, and we head off on another adventure.
We do. I enjoyed it. There was obviously quite a lot of recurring themes.
Sure. Did you like the resolution?
Yeah, I thought it was quite neat. I thought they tied it up quite well.
It wasn't a bit swift for you?
Not overly.
Okay. I quite like the reveal of Sargon being alive.
Yeah, although it was a bit contrived. It's like, yeah, I've got other abilities. They didn't really explain it too much other than his other powers.
Yeah, he didn't mention these other powers until he is. But then you get the idea that maybe he didn't trust Hennock all along and he was trying to bait him.
Yeah, I mean, if he knew he's had millions of years or 500,000 years with this person, I'm sure he knows his personalities.
Well, I got the impression they didn't engage over that time, that Hennock and Thalassa were stuck in their globes alone.
Okay, well, perhaps when they had physical bodies in the past, they knew he was a dodgy character.
Well, they certainly knew he was an opponent in whatever the final conflict they had was.
Not to be entirely trusted.
Do you think that Spock and Mulhall and Kirk were right to volunteer their bodies for the experiment?
Right, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure how responsible it was, if it was the correct decision in terms of the safety of everyone else and the mission and what have you. But I think from a scientific point of view, experiencing things, I think they were, I can understand why they would want to give it a bash.
And do you think that McCoy should have taken up Thalassa on her offer?
What was that?
Should revive Kirk as long as he let her keep the body that she was in. I mean, obviously it wouldn't have worked out because Sargon would have shown up. But
I think basically you're asking, would McCoy have sacrificed some
Mulhall
random
for Kirk?
Kirk? I think he would have.
I think he should have.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
I don't think he would have, but yeah.
You don't think so?
No, I think it was quite clear that he wasn't going to do it.
Okay, but Mulhall's not dead. She's just been moved.
She's in a globe. Also, if they can share bodies, why did they need to have the globes in the first place? Yeah.
And also, Mulhall knew the risks.
That's true. Okay, bit of trivia.
Sure.
Originally aired the 9th of February 1968. Directed by Ralph Sinensky, the fourth of his 6 Star Trek episodes. I don't think he was that fond of it. You can hear more about him on the podcast for This Side of Paradise. John T. Duggan wrote the story under the name John Kingsbridge. The reason he changed the name, as usual, is that he wasn't happy with Gene Roddenberry's alterations. In particular, he wasn't happy with the ending, which he felt was sacrilegious. His original plan was for Thalassa and Sargon to wander the stars as spirits.
I wonder, when you change the name under those type of circumstances, do you forgo the royalties? The fees?
Well, it was nominated for a Writers Guild Award, and I'm pretty sure he took the nomination quite happily.
There you go, yeah.
This was his only Star Trek episode, but he also wrote for shows like Mission Impossible, Bonanza, and 2 episodes of Columbo, which makes him this week's connection.
Also should say that I'm aware that none of the cast got royalties. That was one of the things.
Oh, okay.
I didn't sign up for it, didn't know. And I think they're all pretty annoyed about it.
Well, the surviving ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sorry.
Yeah.
Columbo again, yeah.
Yeah, the 2 episodes he wrote were Eddie Albert's season 1 episode Dead Weight, and the season 2 Robert Culp mystery, The Most Crucial Game, the one with the American football team. Yeah,
very good episodes. The Culp one a bit stronger, but yeah, both enjoyable.
Was Dead Weight the one with Suzanne Plachette?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay. Dugan died in 1994 when he was 74. Diana Muldaur played Dr. Animal Hall in Thalassa. She would return for one further episode as a different character, and she was also a regular cast member in the 2nd season of Star Trek The Next Generation. She was the primary doctor on board for that, but she was a different character again.
I think I recognise her more from LA Law.
Yeah, she also appeared in LA Law. Also McLeod, she did a bunch of episodes for that, and she was in Murder, She Wrote, and she's now 82 years old.
Very good.
In the absence of any further guest stars, let's look at a regular. James Doohan played Scotty.
Coincidentally, I have been watching the MATV Legends interviews.
Okay.
Look at most of the Star Trek original cast, or the regulars on that, and I have listened to a few. He's quite an interesting character, quite fun.
Yeah.
Some of his backstory's been quite revealing.
Yeah. Well, we've just got a superficial look at him here. So he was Scotty as usual, but he also provided the voice of Sargon in this episode, which is kind of a lead in to what he did on the animated series. Okay. Out with the Star Trek universe, he appeared in shows like The Bold and the Beautiful, MacGyver, and Peyton Place. And as a member of the Royal Canadian Artillery, he landed on Juno Beach on D-Day, coming under fire and reportedly surviving only because a bullet aimed at his chest hit a silver cigarette case he was carrying in his uniform pocket. One of those miracle survival stories. I think he did get his finger blown off.
Yeah. He tells a good story as well, apparently how he saved a suicidal girl.
Yes. She went on to get an engineering degree.
Yeah.
He created the first version of the Klingon language for the first motion picture and voiced over 50 characters on the animated series. And after his death in 2005, at the age of 85, some of his ashes were smuggled aboard the International Space Station by a very wealthy space tourist.
Okay. I'm sure he'd have liked that.
I'm sure. Some other trivia. Dr. Mulhall, highest ranking female we see in the entire series. She's a lieutenant commander.
Okay.
Kirk's reference in the show, we didn't talk about it, but he references the Apollo mission. And I think it was in the clip, whether you wished it hadn't reached the moon. That was a prediction. No Apollo mission had reached the moon at the time that the episode was.
Yeah, we're only a year away.
Yeah, but it wasn't by no means a guarantee. They're only a year on from Apollo 1 killing all its astronauts in a fire.
Yeah.
And some people think that the Kiss song, 100,000 Years, was inspired by this episode. No one is certain, but
somebody should ask.
No, we're not asking him. We're not.
Paul Stanley and find out.
We don't want to know one way or the other.
He says, no, it's not. Damn it.
The planet had a name. It was called Arret, and the people were the Aretans, but that's not mentioned during the episode. And in terms of international titles, the French go with Tunique Poussier.
What, excuse me?
You're Nothing But Dust.
Right.
For the Germans, it was Geist sucht Körper, Ghost craves body.
Okay.
And I've been working on my Japanese pronunciation for this week after all the complaints. So in Japan, it was Chite Kakunokosyo Kiro no Ene Rogi.
I'm sure that's 100% better.
It means energy at 160 kilometres underground.
Garbage.
That's their conversion of 112 miles, I think.
Yeah.
Next week, the 21st episode of Season 2, Patterns of Force, featuring a race of aliens who take their entire culture from Brexit supporters.
Oh wait, and we hit the big 5-0.
Yes, episode 50 of the podcast. Hopefully you've listened to them all.
Milestone.
Yeah. In the meantime, find us on social media. We're at Trek Podcast on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and you can find a post for each episode on astartrekpodcast.com, and we're also putting the episodes up on YouTube if you prefer to listen there.
Until then,
cheerio.
bye bye.